Oh, damn. 1 minute late. 10:01. I almost had it on time at 10 o'clock. I blame the bourbon. Oh, by the way, there is bourbon here. Happy National Bourbon Day to you. Naturally, I have to celebrate with a rare treat, one that I don't often break out. It is my favorite bourbon, which can only be procured in Kentucky at the source. But it is quite an experience. So, if you ever go to Kentucky, round about Lexington, outskirts of Lexington, out on a farm, actually, it's called Three Boys Distillery, and best bourbon I've ever had. It is no joke. Best bourbon I've ever had. Very, very good. I love it. And that's what I'm drinking here. I have a bottle of it. It's going to run you about $130. But it's worth it. I have had the Pappy Van Winkle 20-year special reserve before. And while that was amazing, this is on par. And it's not aged for over 20 years. Even just the aroma is delightful. Hello, Crystal. So glad you could join me. You get a huzzah! And you said you're tired and you need to sleep, so you need me to read to you so that you can sleep. I see an amber as well. Huzzah! I will stop going on about bourbon for now, even though it is National Bourbon Day. And I will get on with it, okay? Here we go. So, welcome to Storytime. Another wonderful rendition of Storytime. It's just past 10. And tonight we're reading more Russian fairy tales. Those crazy, bonkers, not-so-Russians. And their stories. A few of those. Plus, and a good evening to you as well. Plus, some the possibility of an original story. We'll see how I feel about that one as we go on. But anyway, Russian fairy tales. So, I would like just to announce that I would really prefer it if you would all move to YouTube while watching me. It is one of the better. It's one of the better platforms from which to watch. It really is. You can interact better. You can also get better notifications regarding when I'm streaming. So, if you go to YouTube, please like this video, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribing will help you get those notifications, by the way. And feel free to share it with your friends. In fact, I encourage you to share it with your friends. And also, comment as much as you can. Seriously, I await and adore your comments, because I love your comments, and I love interacting with you. So, don't forget, we're more than halfway through Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is read on Monday and Friday nights. After that, I believe we will be moving on to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Now, I do still take requests. Harry Potter moves fairly quick, so it's a decent possibility that your request, yes, I'm winking from both eyes, could get chosen for the next book after Harry Potter. There is a lineup, after all. And I have access to all of the Goosebumps library. I mean the entire library, through my friend Mike Estrin. Great guy. You should check out his channel. It's called OK Thank You. I will leave that in the comments. OK Thank You. That's the name of his channel. And I will put it up. Actually, I'm going to show that. That is Mike's channel. Mike Interesting, that is, on YouTube. Subscribe to them as well. It's some quality entertainment. Anyway, you're welcome to friend me on Facebook, Brett Picorni. You're also welcome to join the Storytime group on Facebook, which is where all of our updates will go. It's called Storytime, 2 words, exclamation point at the end. Then there's the YouTube channel, which I'm hyping up right now and just did, B Picorni 1. And yes, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment as much as you can, and of course, share it with your friends. Then there's Twitch, not super active on Twitch. I might eventually add video games to my repertoire there, but in the meantime, I'm just doing story time, and it is broadcasting there live right now as well. So please do follow me there if you're on Twitch. My tag is Brett Doesn't Game, all one word. Oh, and I forgot, shall I start the music? I think I should start playing some Russian fairy tale style music. There we go. I think that should be coming through nice and clear for you. I listened back last night and found that it was kind of garbled. You know, it was not the best quality. So, I've put on another microphone, hooked another microphone up, and put it up against the speaker so that we could get better audio quality for that. I love doing it for you every night, so thank you for being here and being a part of it. It's great having other people comment. That's another thing that keeps me doing this, is when you all comment. If no one was here, it would be quite a drag. So, thank you for commenting and being a part of it. Anyway, tonight we are picking up with more Russian fairy tales, and I'm very excited for the one we are starting back up on, because it includes The Thumb-Sized Man. Another music night, Amber. You know, I should do another music night, because, you know, what's stopping me? My tryout, my audition for The Voice is in 11 days and 23 hours. So, that's kind of cool. I suppose I should do some more practice for with you all. Your whole family watches every night. My goodness, I feel like a celebrity. Thank you for that. So, showing up for the HP series. Oh, Crystal, you are. So, because you named them, Amber, to John, huzzah! To Jonathan, huzzah! And Scarlet, huzzah! And Crystal, you get another huzzah! A mini one. So yes, I understand you're going to show up for HP. I don't blame you. Most people love Harry Potter. So, anyway. There we go. Your comment gets to be displayed. And I will move back to, so close. I'm so excited for you. So close. So close to what? Oh, yes, the audition. Yes, that would be so much fun. But anyway, okay, thank you. That's Mike's channel. I'm going to leave that up for a little while longer so you guys can find him on YouTube as well and subscribe to him as well, because he's got a great channel. So, anyway, I'm excited. I am so excited. I'm glad I made that day. That's the sort of thing I live for, honestly. I'm excited for this very first story of the night, called Ivan the Peasant's Son and the Thumb-Sized Man. There is an illustration. Look at that thumb-sized man. He even looks a bit like a thumb. Oh, yes. If he's shown up in a few stories. Not yet, but he will be making appearances now that we see him for the first time. I'm trying to remember if this is the exact one I'm thinking of, or if it's another one. Either way, all the stories with the thumb-sized man are amazing, because he's a complete dick, pardon my French. You know, the great thing about, I'm going to post that one, Amber, because you can see both channels up there now. There's OK Thank You, which is Mike's, and Deepak Only One, which is mine. That bourbon is just so good. It's not aged nearly as long as many of the ones you'll go and find in Kentucky. But, for being such low maturation age, it has such a complex quality to it. It's so good. I don't know what it is they do, but it is so good. Anyway, shall we? Ivan the Peasant's Son and the Thumb-Sized Man. In a certain kingdom, in a certain land, there we are. In a certain kingdom, in a certain land, there lived a king. In his courtyard there was a pillar, and on the pillar 3 rings, one of gold, one of silver, and one of copper. One night the king dreamed that a horse was tied to the golden ring. Every hair on the horse's body was silver, and on his brow was a glistening moon. In the morning the king arose and sent forth a call, proclaiming that to anyone who could tell him the meaning of this dream and get for him that horse, he would give his daughter and half his kingdom as a dowry. That's a big dowry. In answer to the king's summons, a multitude of princes, boyars, and lords of every description gathered together. They thought in thoughts, but not one of them could tell the meaning of the dream, and not one of them would undertake to get the horse. At last it was reported to the king that a certain poor old peasant had a son named Ivan who could explain his dream and get the horse for him. The king sent for Ivan and asked him, "Can you explain my dream and get that horse?" Ivan answered, "Tell me first what the dream was and what horse you want." The king said, "Last night I dreamed that to the golden ring in my courtyard a horse was tied, and every hair on his body was silver, and on his brow was a glistening moon." "That was not a dream, but a reality," said Ivan, "for last night the 12-headed dragon came to your kingdom on that horse and wanted to steal your daughter." "And can you get that horse?" "I can," answered Ivan, "but not before I have passed my 15th year." I wonder how old he is now. Did I miss it? Either way, let's get to it. At that time, here we are. At that time, Ivan was only 12 years old, so the king took him into his palace and gave him food and drink till he reached his 15th year. You would love silver hair, especially on a horse, right? When his 15th year had passed, he said to the king, "Sire, give me a horse on which to ride to the land of the dragon." The king led him to the stables and showed him all his horses, but Ivan could not find one strong enough to carry his great weight. When he put his mighty hand on a horse, the horse would fall to the ground. Then Ivan said to the king, "Let me go into the open field and seek a horse suited to my strength." The king let him go. Wise move, king, for Ivan is the destroyer, and he will destroy all in his path. Sorry, that's going to happen every time I sip this bourbon. Oh, good God, yes. Ivan the peasant's son looked for 3 years, and nowhere could he find a horse. He was returning in tears to the king when he met an old man who asked him, "Why are you weeping, young fellow?" Ivan answered this question rudely and chased the old man away. The old man said, "Mind you, young fellow, do not speak ill of me." Ivan walked for a little distance away from the old man and thought to himself, "Why did I offend him? Old people know a great deal." This is becoming a common theme in these stories. Offending an old person and then saying, "Why did I do that?" He turned back, caught up with the old man, fell at his feet and said, "Grandfather, forgive me. I offended you because of my own grief." It is very tasty, Amber, very tasty. It's the best bourbon I've ever had. And I've told you, I've had a lot. This is why I am weeping. For 3 years I've travelled in the open field through many droves of horses, and nowhere can I find a horse strong enough for me. The old man said, "Go to such and such a village. That is the stable of a peasant. There in the stable of a peasant is a mare. The mare has given birth to a mangy colt. Take this colt and feed him. Soon he will be suited to your strength." Well, he waited 3 years to try to find one, so I suppose what's a few more? Ivan bowed deeply to the old man and went to that village. He went straight to the peasant's stable and went to that village. He went straight to the peasant's stable. Good Lord. Saw the mare with the mangy colt and put his hands upon him. The colt did not shy away in the least. Ivan took him from the peasant, fed him for some time, went back to the king and said that he had found a horse for himself. Then he began to make ready to visit the dragon. The king asked him, "How many men do you need, Ivan?" Ivan answered, "What do I need men for? I can get the horse by myself, but you might give me a half-dozen men to carry messages back and forth." The king gave him 6 men. They made ready and set out. By the way, if you can hear the music all right and it's not all garbly and gross sounding, please let me know. I want to know that this other mic is doing its job. Whether they traveled a long time or a short, no one knows, but we do know that they came to the River of Fire. There, I will put my phone there. Over the river was a bridge, and around it an enormous forest. They pitched a tent in the forest, got out a variety of refreshments, and began to eat, drink, and make merry. And yes, Crystal, apparently I'm naturally drunk on life, because that sort of thing where I would keep reading the same line a few times and going, "What the hell?" used to happen to me a lot in high school, in middle school, and all that. Okay, good, I'm glad you can hear the music. Thank you for letting me know. Ivan the peasant's son said to his companions, "Let us each stand guard every night in turn to see whether anyone crosses this river." But all of Ivan's companions, when they kept watch, got drunk and did not see anything. Also, if there's not a good balance in the music and my voice, please let me know so I can fine-tune it, because naturally I'm not hearing this back, you are. So if you need me to turn the music down a little bit, or turn myself up a little bit, however, or turn whatever, or turn the music up, who knows, whatever it is, let me know if it seems like a fine balance. Finally, Ivan the peasant's son himself stood guard and just at midnight he saw a three-headed dragon who crossed the river and said, "I have no enemy and no slanderer, except perhaps one enemy and one slanderer, Ivan the peasant's son. But the raven has not even brought his bones here in a bladder." Music's a tiny bit loud. Thank you for letting me know. Turning it down now. There. That should do it. Ivan the peasant's son sprang out from under the bridge. "You lie," he said. "I am here. If you are here, let us join in combat. In other words, let's fight." And the dragon rode on horseback against Ivan, but Ivan advanced on foot, taking a swing with his saber. Texas! And cut off all three of the dragon's heads, took his horse and tied him to the tent. Perfect, yes. Yes, that's what I like to hear. The next night, Ivan the peasant's son slew the six-headed dragon, and on the third night the nine-headed one, and cast each of them into the river of fire. When he came to the bridge on the fourth night, the 12-headed dragon came to him and said angrily, "Who is Ivan the peasant's son? Why did he slay my sons? Let him come out to meet me forthwith." Ivan the peasant's son stepped forward and said, "First, let me go to my tent, then we shall join in combat. I wonder what that wily Russian is up to." Me? I'm, giving a good little wipe to the old bridge of the nose and the glasses, because they're slipping a little bit. There we are. Very well. Go. Ivan ran to his companions and said, "Here, boys, is a bowl. Look into it. When it is filled with blood, come to see me." He returned and faced the dragon, and when they rode apart and then clashed, Ivan, at the first blow, cut off 4 of the dragon's heads, but himself sank into the earth up to his knees. They clashed a second time, and Ivan cut off 3 dragon heads and sank into the earth to his waist. They clashed the third time, and he cut off 3 more heads, but sank into the earth up to his breast. That's 10 heads. Finally, he cut off 1 more head and sank into the earth up to his neck. Then only did his companions remember him. They looked into the bowl and saw that blood was overflowing its brim. They rushed out, cut off the last head of the dragon, and pulled Ivan out of the earth. Ivan, the peasant's son, took the dragon's horse and led him to the tent. Oh yes, it was on, and now it's not anymore. But this is... Oh, I probably look ridiculous, don't I? Oh. Ooh, it's still there. I can still feel it. Yes, yum indeed. Oh my. It's barrel-proof, you know. I'm gonna lick the brim of the glass. Ooh. Where was I? Oh yes. Night passed and morning came. The brave youths began to eat and drink and make merry. Ivan rose from the merrymaking and said to his companions, "Wait for me." He changed himself into a cat, crossed the bridge over the river of fire. Over the river of fire, came to the house of the dragons, and made friends with the cats there. In the whole house, only the dragon's wife and her 3 daughters-in-law remained alive. They sat in the chamber and spoke among themselves, "How can we destroy that scoundrel, Ivan the peasant's son?" The youngest daughter-in-law said, "Wherever Ivan the peasant's son goes, I will bring a famine on the road, and turn myself into an apple tree. When he eats one of my apples, he will burst." And hello, Mum! Huzzah! Glad you're here! Yes, it's already 10:20, actually. And allow me to plug in my power adapter. The second daughter-in-law said, "And I will make a thirst on the road, and turn myself into a well. Let him try to drink." The eldest said, "And I will bring a drowsiness upon him, and turn myself into a bed. When Ivan, the peasant's son, lies down upon it, he will die at once." Finally, their mother-in-law said, "And I will open my mouth from earth to sky, and devour them all." Ooh, nasty wench. Ivan the peasant's son heard everything they said, went out of the chamber, turned into a man, came back to his companions, and said to them, "Well, boys, make ready to go." Okay. That's right, one of these days. Join the YouTube... Well, you are subscribed to the YouTube, aren't you? Anyway. They made ready, set out, and at once a terrible hunger came to them, but they had nothing to eat. Suddenly they saw an apple tree. Ivan's companions wanted to pluck some apples, but Ivan forbade them. "This," he said, "is not an apple tree." He began to cut it down, and blood spurted out of its trunk. Soon afterward they were overwhelmed by thirst. Oh my! Ivan saw a well, forbade his companions to drink from it, and began to hack its stones. Blood flowed from the well. Then drowsiness came upon them. A bed stood on the road, but Ivan slashed through it too. At last they came to a mouth opened from earth to sky. What could they do? They thought of jumping over it on the run, but no one could jump it except Ivan the peasant's son. He was rescued from this predicament by his wonderful horse, every hair of whose body was silver, and whose brow bore a glistening moon. He came to a river. Near the river stood a little hut. There he met a little man as big as a thumb. Here's the thumb-sized man! With a mustache 7 versts long, who said to him, keep in mind, 7 versts. A verst is a good distance. So 7 versts is like 1.5 miles long. So, or 3 miles long, something like that. So his mustache is like 1.5 miles in either direction. So here we go. Yes, 7 versts long, who said to him, "Give me your horse, and if you do not give him to me willingly, I will take him by force." That little jerk. Ivan answered, "Get out of my path, accursed reptile, or I shall crush you under my horse." The little man was as big as a thumb, with a mustache 7 versts long, knocked him to the ground, sat himself on the horse, and rode away. Ivan entered the hut and grieved greatly for his horse. In the hut, a footless and handless man was lying on the stove. Oh! He said to Ivan, "Listen, brave youth, I know not how to call you by name. Why did you try to fight him? I was a greater champion than you, yet he ate off my hands and my feet." Oh, gross! The thumb-sized man ate this other warrior's hands and feet. Why? Because I ate bread from his table. Ivan asked the man how he could recover his horse. The footless and handless man said to him, "Go to such and such a river, take the ferry boat, ferry for 3 days, accept money from no one, then you may get your horse back." Ivan bowed deeply to him, went to the river, took the ferry boat, and for 3 whole years ferried and took no money for it. Once he ferried 3 old men across the river, and they offered him money, but he refused it. "Tell me, brave youth, why don't you take money?" He answered, "Because of a promise I made." "What promise?" "A perfidious man took my horse, and a good man told me to row the ferry for 3 years and accept no money for one." The old men said, "If you wish, Ivan, peasant's son, we can help you to get back your horse. Do help me, my friends." These old men the magician. The magician stepped on the shore, drew the picture of a boat on the sand, and said, "Brother, do you see this boat? We see it. Sit in it." All 4 of them sat in the boat. The magician said, "Now, little light boat, serve me as you have served me before." Suddenly the boat rose in the air, and in a trice, like an arrow shot from a bow, brought the mountain. I have a question. If that magician was able to just make a boat out of a picture, why didn't he do that instead of taking the ferry? I don't get it. Either way, let's move on. On that mountain stood a house, and in that house lived a little man as big as a thumb, with a mustache 7 versts long. The old men sent Ivan to ask for the horse. Ivan asked for it. The little man as big as a thumb, with a mustache 7 versts long, said to him, "Steal the king's daughter, and bring her to me, then I will return your horse." Ivan told this to his companions. and they left him at once and went to the king. The king learned that they had come for and ordered his servants to heat a bath red hot. Let them suffocate there. Mean. Oh. Let them suffocate there. He asked his guests to go into the bath. They thanked him and went. The magician ordered the freezer to go first. The freezer went into the bath and cooled it. Then they washed and steamed themselves and came before the king. The king ordered a great feast to be served. A vast array of viands and was placed on the table. The glutton ate everything. At night, the three guests made secret preparations, stole the princess, brought her to the little man as big as a thumb, with a mustache 7 versts long, and got the horse in exchange. Ivan the peasant's son bowed deeply to the old men, bestrode the horse, and started on his journey back to the king. He rode and rode, stopped in the open field to take a rest, pitched his tent, and lay down. When he awoke, he discovered the princess lying beside him. He was overjoyed and asked, "How did you get here?" The princess said, "I changed into a pin and stuck myself into your collar." At the moment, she again turned into a pin. Ivan the peasant's son stuck her in his collar and rode on. He came to the king, who, upon seeing the marvelous horse, received the brave youth with honor and told him that his daughter had been stolen. Ivan said, "Do not grieve, sire. I have brought her back." He went into the next room, and the pin in his collar turned into a lovely maiden. Ivan took her by the hand and led her to the king. The king was even more overjoyed, took the horse for himself, and gave his daughter to Ivan the peasant's son in marriage. And even now, Ivan is living happily with his young wife. I guess the moral I see in that one is, be patient and respect your elders. Because had Ivan not talked to the old man and said he was sorry and asked his advice, he would never have gotten that far. Oh, here's a really short one called Death of a Miser. Here we go. There was once an old miser who had 2 sons and a great deal of money. When he heard death coming, he locked himself up in his room, sat on his oaken chest, swallowed his gold coins, chewed up his bills, and thus ended his life. His sons came, laid out the dead body under the holy icons, and invited the sexton to chant the psalms. At midnight, a devil in human form suddenly appeared, took the old man on his shoulders, and said, "Hold up the flap of your coat, sexton," and he shook the dead man, saying, "The money is yours, but the bag is mine." And he vanished, taking the body with him. Oh my! What sass! I like it. The money is yours, but the bag is mine. Look at that. Take that, greedy old man. And hello, Regina! Huzzah! Thank you for joining. Reminder, everyone, please, do comment. If you comment, you will get a huzzah. You will get a shout out and a huzzah. So, don't forget to do that. You know, I'm happy to do it. So, yes, please do it. Once again, a little reminder. You can find me on Facebook, Brett Picorni. You can also find Storytime, 2 words, exclamation point at the end. And join that group. That's where the most of the announcements will be. And then don't forget as well, YouTube. Please start watching on YouTube if you can. That's probably the best place to watch this. It's B Picorni 1, B as in boy, P as in price, OKORN as in next, Y the number 1. That's my channel. Don't wear it out. Well, you can wear it out all you like, actually. But yes, like this video, hit subscribe if you haven't. Share it with your friends so that they can watch along as well. And finally, Twitch. Brett Doesn't Game, all one word, that's it. So, shall we get back to it? I'm wondering, should I read you an original piece now? Perhaps? What do you think? If you think that's a good idea, then maybe I'll do so. The question is, do I have anything worth reading to you right now? I think I'll read you something, but I need to make sure I have something worth it. Oh, here we go. This is, okay, I'll read you this one. It's an interesting story. It's called Another Day. Yes, I haven't read this one in a while. We'll see what you think of it. What's that? What's that you're saying? Right. Wow, I got kicked off for some reason. I hope you're all still here because I'm still streaming. That's dumb. Dumb, dummity, dumb. But welcome back, everyone, whoever's here again. It is story time still. That's so weird that it, Okay, good to know you're here again. For those of you who got kicked off and aren't here yet, I'm sorry, it sucks. For those of you who are back already, welcome back! I don't know why it kicked me off like that. That's so strange, but I'm happy to be back. Anyway, I was just starting an original story. I don't know how I got kicked off. It might be an internet issue. I'm just going to guess it's an internet issue. So, here we go. Yes, sorry about that, Crystal. I didn't mean to do that. Hello, another Crystal's watching. Crystal Burns was on YouTube and Crystal Forrest on Facebook. Huzzah! I'm going to try not to let that happen again, but there's not much I can do. It wasn't me who did it. It was, you know, it was the darned applications. So... that's okay, Crystal. It's alright that you're here late. Not to worry. We came just in time for an original, and then we'll get back to the stories of the Russian variety. So here we go. Another Day by Brett Picorni. It was like any other day at the monthly community picnic. The Andersons brought their famous potato salad, and the Smiths brought their dog. The Saints brought beans and macaroni, while the Johns brought lawn chairs. Everyone had something to contribute, even Walt Desmond. But what Mr. Desmond had to offer was unique. Mr. Desmond was new to the community. He had recently moved into the house next door to the Saints. He was young. He had no wife and no children with him. He had no animals. The only thing he seemed to have was furniture and a painting of a silver-haired child in a meadow. The Saints admired the painting as it was brought into Walt's new house. Until the picnic, Walt had stayed almost strictly indoors. He never said anything, never made any motion to reach out to the community. It was at the picnic that he decided to talk. His first words were, "My, what a lovely girl you have there." "Thank you," said Mrs. Anderson. "She's just turned 5. I'm sorry, but I don't think we've met yet. I'm Jill, and this is my husband, Jeffrey. Are you the one who moved in next to the Saints?" "Yes, I am," said Mr. Desmond. "My name is Walt Desmond, and I am a registered sex offender. I recently moved here for work. You see, Mrs. Anderson's smile faded to a horrified glare as she suddenly grabbed her daughter's arm. "What was that?" she said. "Oh, I was just saying that I moved here for work. You see, Once again, Mr. Desmond was cut off, not by a glare or an exclamation, but by Mrs. Anderson's sudden turning around and walking away, leading her daughter by the hand. Mr. Anderson watched his wife walk off, shrugged, and followed suit. I'm sure she did. As Mr. Desmond made his way around the picnic, he made sure to comment on how delicious the food was. He apologized for not bringing anything to eat. It was just that he was rather low on money at the time. However, every time he made mention that he was a sex offender, people seemed to back away. When he realized that he was not going to be given a chance, he quietly left. The next day... It's just me, or is my video a little laggy? No, I think it's fine. The next day, Mr. Anderson saw a moving van outside of Mr. Desmond's house. When he opened his mailbox, Mr. Anderson found a letter, as did the rest of the members of the community. It read as follows. Dear neighbors, my name, as I told you before, is Walt Desmond. I am 23 years old, and I am a registered sex offender. About a year ago, I met a woman, and we instantly fell in love. What I did not know at the time was that she was 17. I told her I wanted to marry her. I told her I wanted to take her away with me. She had not told her parents about us until she was pregnant. Her parents told me that they would press charges if I ever stepped foot near her or my unborn child again. They still managed to get me declared a registered sex offender. I don't know how, but that is not what is important. What is important is what I am about to tell you. I'm a professional artist. My paintings have been sold around the world, but since I have been banned from seeing Heather, I have been unable to paint anything other than our unborn child. I paint her with silver hair because of what they told me. I would not see her, not even when she was old. She is my child, and I cannot see her, young or old, so I paint her in both ways. I have been searching for a new place to live so that I might gain a new source of inspiration. After a few days here, I can see that this is not the place, so that you all may remember me. I have left you a gift. It is in the living room of what I had hoped would be my new home. Mr. Anderson slowly made his way over to the house next to the saint's residence. The front door was open, and when he entered, he saw several other members of the community in the room on the right. As he heard the moving van start to drive off, he noticed the picture on the wall. It was of a silver-haired little girl, standing in a meadow. On one of the trees was painted a carving that read, "Intolerance." Video has been lagging. Yes, I am back. Suck the kid into the picture in some way. Video has been laggy. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to guess it's a problem with my damned internet. Either way. Ooh. Here's another story. I will read would you like me to read you another original? Is that something you would like? Let me know if you'd like another original. If you would, I will read you one more. And it's a short version of a story that I wrote a while back. And I would gladly, next weekend, read you the full version if I can find it. But what the heck, why not? This one's called Kate Morenthal Drank from Dragon's Falls, and it is the short version of the story. Dave's father, Jeff, was a drunkard. In the past few years, Jeff's alcohol problem had actually become a problem. He had become abusive as opposed to the wild redneck he had proudly claimed to be in his youth. He woke up to a harsh reality when he hit a girl on the road. The biggest problem faced by the Morenthal family at the time was money. Dave had recently been awarded a scholarship and would be the first in his family to go to college. However, he would never be able to support the family, as would be his duty if Jeff was sent to prison for manslaughter. For Kate had no skills outside of the house. Oh, that's sexist, Brett. Dave took it upon himself to sacrifice his scholarship and take the fall for the hit-and-run victim so that Jeff may continue to support the family. Several months after Dave went to prison, his younger brother Peter attempted to smother Jeff in his sleep. Jeff beat Peter to death in his half-drunken stupor. Jeff buried the body in the garden out back, telling Kate never to say a word, but she called the police while he was away at work the following day. When Jeff saw the police cars in front of the house, he drove by and Kate decided to run. She went to her grandmother's old summer home, Dragon's Falls, just an hour away. As she sat at the edge of the waterfall, Jeff came from behind, for he knew where she would go, and told her that he loved her. Then he lowered her so that she might drink from the mouth of the dragon, the only way it could be done. He told her he was sorry before dropping her to her death. This is kind of like a synopsis of the story. Anyway, keep going. It was not long until Jeff was sent to prison for the murder. He was put 5 cells away from his son Dave. Dave did not currently have a cellmate. He did not mind, though. Quite frankly, he enjoyed being semi-solitary. Although there was no one to talk to, there was also no one to bother him either. He could think to himself, he could plot to himself, he could altogether be himself. Although Dave kept to himself, he had several connections in the prison. The guards liked him. 1 or 2 of them even knew that he was not guilty for the crime for which he was serving 5 years. Dave knew that his father would be living 5 cells away from his cell before Jeff even entered the prison gates. "What's he in for?" Dave asked as he reached the guard in the lunch line. When the guard told him that both his brother and mother were dead, Dave dropped his food tray. As Dave sat in his cell that evening, he began to wonder what Jeff was going to say to him at the moment in which they would inevitably cross paths. Would he apologize? Would he try to finish the job after taking out half the family? Would he have time to speak before Dave shoved a plastic spork through his jugular? The following morning, Dave carried a sharpened toothbrush with him to the showers. He was one of the last to reach the showers, and being friends with the guards, was able to conceal a weapon without fear of being thoroughly checked for one. As he scanned the showers, he located his father and walked slowly in his direction, palming the shank. "Have you been, Pa?" Jeff turned around with his head facing the ground. He slowly raised his attention to the eyes of his son. "I know I can never make up for what I did, but I really am sorry, Dave. There's just one thing that I want you to know." He opened his arms and embraced his son. Before he could say a word, Dave stabbed his father with a toothbrush. Unlike the popular belief, the sound of soap hitting the floor meant someone had just been murdered. Jeff uttered one last thing before falling to the floor. "I love you, boy, and I'm real proud of you." Blood embraced the water that washed toward the drain. The same water washed away the last words spoken between the last two members of the Mournthal family. All right, so there was that story. Real quick synopsis, basically, of the actual story. Well, anyway, I hope you all liked it. In the meantime, let's get this music going again. Woo, there it is. Because we're going to get back to the future. No, wait. We're going to get back to some more Russian fairy tales. Shall we? I think we shall. Let's go ahead and read one more Russian fairy tale before we go to bed. Because, I'm a little tired and I have an early morning workout. I'm proud of myself. I'm going to get back to regular workouts. That's the plan, at least. Regular workouts and a better diet. Who'd have thunk? Whew. Oh, thanks, Samba. I'm glad you liked it. So this one's called The Footless Champion and the Handless Champion. In the previous story, there was a footless and handless man. In this one, there are two, one who's footless and one who's handless, and they're both champions. Alright, let's see how this goes. So good. Celtic fairy tales. I've not done Celtic fairy tales yet. Right now the book I have is Russian fairy tales, and we're going through this whole damn thing. So here we go. A certain prince decided to get married and had a particular bride in mind, a beautiful princess, but he did not know how to win her. Kings and princes and brave champions from many lands had wooed her. Wooed her. Wooing, eh? Had wooed her, but had achieved nothing. They had only lost their rash heads, which were stuck on the fence poles around the palace of the proud maiden. The prince was sad and distressed and wondered who would help him. Then appeared Ivan the Naked. Oh my! Ivan the Naked, a poor peasant who had nothing to eat or drink and whose clothes had long since fallen from his shoulders. He's pulling a naked man. Bold move. He came to the prince and said, "You cannot win the maiden by yourself, and if you go to woo her alone, you will lose your rash head. It would be better if we went together. I shall save you from dagger and arrange the whole match. Only promise to obey me." The prince, the prince promised to follow the peasant's advice, and the very next day they set out on their journey. They arrived in the maiden's kingdom and began to woo her. Sake of leaving a comment. So is this one? Oh, thank you, Amber, for leaving comments just for the sake of leaving comments. That's wonderful of you, and I do appreciate it, because the more comments, the better. The more likes, the better as well. So all of you who haven't liked yet, shame on you. Like this video, subscribe now. Back to the wooing. They arrived in the maiden's kingdom and began to woo her. The princess said, "My poor book." She did not say my poor book. I said my poor book. The princess said, "First, the bridegroom must prove his strength." She invited the prince to a feast and regaled him lavishly. After dinner, the guests began to play various games. "Now bring me my gun that I take on the hunt," said the princess to her attendants. The door opened and 40 men appeared, carrying not a gun but a cannon. "Well, my intended bridegroom," said the princess, "fire my gun." "Ivan," said the prince, "see whether this gun is any good." Ivan the Naked took the gun out on the porch, gave it a shove with his foot, and it flew far away and fell into the blue sea. "No, your majesty," reported Ivan the Naked, "it is a wretched gun, unfit to be fired by a champion like yourself." "What is the meaning of this, princess?" said the prince. "Do you wish to make a mock of me? You asked me to fire a gun that my servant hurled into the sea with a single kick." "Hello, Kathleen! Huzzah!" Let's see. What has been said? Okay. "Harry. Dude, I swear I hit random letters and that's what happened. Harry. Oh my, OMFG. It didn't. Correct. It didn't gent correct. Wow, you're leaving a lot of comments. The princess ordered her bow and arrow to be brought. Again the door opened and 40 men carried in the bow and arrow. "My intended bridegroom, see if you can shoot an arrow with my bow." "Hey, Ivan," cried the prince, "see whether this bow is fit for me to shoot with." Ivan the Naked drew the bow and shot the arrow. It flew 100 versts, hit Marco the runner, and shot off both his hands. "Oh, poor Marco!" Marco the runner cried in a mighty voice, "Ah, you, Ivan the Naked, you have shot off both my hands! But you will not escape misfortune either." Ivan the Naked took the bow and broke it in twain. "Prince," he said, "it is a wretched bow, unfit to be used by a champion like yourself." "What is the meaning of this, princess?" the prince said. "What kind of bow have you given me?" "My servant drew it, shot an arrow with it, and it broke in twain at once." Back at ya. Baboon. Aardvark. Alright. Let's go back to a huzzah, or a yay. There we go. Yay! The princess ordered her spirited steed to be brought from the stable. 40 men led the steed and could hardly keep him on his chain halter, so fierce and untamable he was. "Well, my intended bridegroom," said the maiden, "take a ride on my steed. I myself ride him every morning." The prince cried, "Hey, Ivan, see whether this horse is fit for me to ride." Ivan the Naked ran to the horse and began to stroke him. He stroked him for some time, then took his tail, gave it to pull, and tore off his skin. "No," he said, "it is a wretched nag. I barely touched his nail, and his whole skin came off. That poor horse! That poor horse!" The prince complained, "Hey, princess, you are still making mock of me. Instead of giving me a mighty steed, you give me a miserable jade." The princess ceased trying the prince's strength and married him the next day. After the wedding, they lay down to sleep. The princess put her hand on the prince's body, and he could barely endure it. He began to lose his breath. "Ah," thought the princess, "so that is the kind of champion you are. Very well then, I'll show you." What is she going to show him? I guess we'll find out. Maybe he'll make one of these vases. We'll see. 1 month later, the prince made ready to go to his own kingdom with his young wife. They rode 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and stopped to give their horses a rest. The princess climbed out of the carriage, saw that Ivan the Naked was sound asleep, took an axe and cut off both his feet. Then she ordered the horses put to her carriage, commanded the prince to stand on the footboard behind, and returned to her kingdom, leaving Ivan in the open field. That bitch. Apparently not going to show him a good time. Apparently, she's leaving him in an open field and chopping off the feet of his companion. One day, Marco the runner passed through that field. He saw Ivan, spoke to him in a friendly fashion, took him on his back, and went with him into a deep, dark forest. The champions began to live in the forest. They built themselves a hut, made themselves a little wagon, got a gun, and hunted birds of passage. Marco the runner dragged the wagon, and Ivan the Naked sat in it, shooting birds. They fed on this game all year round. After a while, they grew weary of their life and decided to steal a maiden from her father and mother. What about Ivan? Or the other? No, what about the prince? They went to a certain priest and asked him for alms. The priest's daughter came out of the house, bringing them bread. As soon as she was near the wagon, Ivan seized her by her hands, sat her next to himself, and Marco ran with them at full speed. A minute later, they were in their hut. "Maiden," he said, "be our sister, cook our dinner and supper, and look after the house." Thus, they lived peacefully and quietly, and did not complain of their lot. But they kidnapped you. Oh, so the prince went off with the princess. Oh, okay. What a wimp. And he left his friend Ivan, that bastard. One day the champions went hunting, stayed away for a whole week, and upon their return could hardly recognize their sister. She had grown so thin. "What has happened to you?" they asked her. She told them that a dragon had flown to her every day and that she had grown thin because of him. "Well, really, he worked you that hard, eh?" "We will catch him," said the champions. Ivan the Naked lay under the bench, and Marco the Runner hid behind the door in the entrance hall. About half an hour later, the trees in the forest suddenly began to rustle, and the roof of the hut shook. The dragon came, struck the damp earth, turned into a goodly youth, sat at table, and asked for food. Ivan seized him by his feet, and Marco fell upon the dragon with all his body and thrashed him terribly. Then they dragged the dragon to an oaken stump, split the stump, stuck his head into the crack, and began to flog him with rods. The dragon implored them, "Let me go, mighty champions. In return, I'll show you where to find the water of life and the water of death." "All right. Sounds like a good deal." The champions consented. The dragon led them to a lake. Marco was overjoyed and wanted to jump into the water at once, but Ivan held him back. "First we must try it," he said. He took a green twig and threw it into the water. The twig burned at once. Again the champions set upon the dragon. They rubbed him and drubbed him till he was more dead than alive. He led them to another lake. Ivan picked up a rotten trunk and cast it into the water. It sprouted at once and grew green leaves. The champions jumped into the lake, bathed in it, and came ashore with new limbs. Ivan had his feet and Marco had his hands. They took the dragon, dragged him to the first lake, and threw him in, and only smoke was left of him. Damn! Damn! Good riddance, goodbye, dragon, forever! They returned home. Marco the Runner was old. He brought the priest's daughter back to her father and mother and began to live with them, because the priest had declared that whosoever brought his daughter back would be allowed to live and eat in his house till the end of his days. But Ivan the Naked got himself a mighty steed and went to look for his prince. He's in love with the prince, isn't he? He rode by an open field and saw the prince tending swine. "Hail, prince," he said. "Hail," answered the prince. "And who are you?" "I am Ivan the Naked." "Why do you boast like that? If Ivan the Naked were alive, I would not be a swineherd." "This is the end of your toil," said Ivan. They exchanged clothes. The prince rode ahead on the mighty steed, and Ivan the Naked followed him, driving the swine. The princess saw him, ran out on the porch, and cried, "Ah, you good-for-nothing! Who told you to drive the pigs home before sunset?" Then she ordered the swineherd to be seized and thrashed in the stable. Ivan the Naked did not wait. He seized the princess by her braid and dragged her around the yard until she repented and solemnly promised to obey her husband in everything. After that, the prince and the princess lived in concord for many years, and Ivan the Naked served them. Yes, poor dragon, and what a strange tale. Ivan the Naked. How strange. Alright guys, it's 10:55. I think I'm going to call it for the night. We will pick up with Russian Fairy Tales next week. The next story is going to be Old Favors Are Soon Forgotten. So, yes, like I said, we'll pick up with more Russian Fairy Tales next week on Saturday, to be precise. In the meantime, it is Sunday night, and I see J.A. has joined. Huzzah! Welcome, even if it's at the last minute. So anyway, yes, poor damn dragon. I feel terrible for the dragon. But anyway, happy National Whiskey Day, Bourbon Day, not just whiskey, Bourbon Day. So. And good night to Moon and everyone else. I appreciate you all being here. Don't forget, find me on Facebook if you so please. You can also join the Facebook group Storytime 2 words exclamation point. Find me on YouTube, BPacorny1. Like this video and any past video you want to like as well. Subscribe. You can watch Storytime anytime because it's posted every single day. That's right, every day. You can go back to the very first Storytime and watch it, leading all the way up to today's. Also, oh shoot, I forgot to send the, damn, I meant to do that earlier. I still have time though. So anyway, yes, BPacorny1 on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends. And Twitch, if you so wish, you can follow me on Twitch as well. Brett Doesn't Game, all one word. Until next time, everyone, I bid you adieu. Tomorrow night we will resume with Bram Stoker's Dracula. Until then, good night, farewell.